Hello everyone, welcome back to my design channel. I'm MengChi. So today we are going to design this exciting liquid gradient pattern. So this liquid gradient can be used in many places, like this one is using as a pattern, but in this one is using as a background. What I mean is that if you don't need your text in the foreground, then you can have a much more vibrant and striking contrast in your gradient. But if you're using it in the background, then you have to think about how to make the text being more visible and the background is more subtle. So this one is much easier to make and this one is a bit more complex. So we were going to start with this one first, but above all, we are going to take a look at our credits. This website is amazingly beautiful and it is from the French design thinking. Let's take a look, see how beautiful it is. Oh, it's using like a oil painting stroke, but I think gradient looks good as well. Now this is from a snapshot of a Pinterest, so go take a look. Let's get started with the starter. Right, so we're going to put our gradient into this frame. Alright, let's create a frame. 1024 by 1024 is a great starting point. Okay, then switch to Figma Draw, and then no matter you wanted to use brush or pencil, it doesn't matter. I'm going to use pencil here and put this width to the 200. I'm going to start it to randomly draw some stroke. So just random, it doesn't matter. Then I will do another one that using gray. I'm gonna use white. So essentially you want something like grayscale. So I can see some of them is out of the frame. I'm gonna paste it again in the frame. Right, so let's go in, select all of them and give them a blur. Give it a maximum blur. Okay, so this is the pattern that I'm going to use. Then let's Command Shift C to copy as a image and paste it right here. Now I'm going to use Liquify plugin. Here I will use brush around 200 to 500. I'm going to start with a bit bigger, maybe here, and then keep the density to be high and the rate to be around 15. You can play around with these density and rate. I like this, but you go with your own style. And for this pattern, because we are creating patterns, so I like it to be a bit dramatic. You can do it as a long stroke. You can swipe it left to right, up to bottom, or even create a smaller circle like this. Do whatever you want because this is a pattern, so it's quite forgiving. But remember, just like a long stroke to go crazy with the pattern. After that, I will go with the bigger stroke, and then you can see here are some empty place. I'm going to use this to give it, to fill it out, to make it feel like it's all covered. Okay, see if you wanted to tweak a bit. I think this looks pretty nice. I'm hit OK, and it will have this pattern. Next one, we will be adding noise. So we add noise and then started to playing with this slider, and I like this. And we're going to select this imagery and then Command Shift C to copy as an imagery again. And we are going to open up Gradient Mapper. So I used to use Gradient Map, which is this one, but the UI is not that great, even though it does using the same functionality. But I like another one better. Let me show you. So this one is better, and you can see here the grain that we add is adding into the imagery. So the grain that we add is also being mapped with the color, and I like it. So depends on how much color you need it. I always go with like 3 to 4. I think that looks better. So just do as you like. So you can play with the random, reverse, or anything. Let me see. I like this one, but without this, apply the gradient. So this is what we have. So we can do is Command C and then put it in this place. You can start it to drag. I like it to be the same size so you can see more pattern right here. You can do that in every one of them, and then we can do a bit of different magic here. So here, let's go with different angle. Click twice and then click 3 times. Then this one we could just flip and this just so you can see different patterns already emerging. And if you think it doesn't feel like it's different, then you can also change the position to make it showing a different patterns in different ways. The next thing we wanted to change is the color, so we turn off this imagery and then the MengChi open gradient mapper again, then pick the color you like. So yeah, this looks nice, and let's do that. It always gives me dopamine when these colors emerging. It's so fun. I think we're done for the pattern. So this is how you can do with the gradient pattern, and yeah, this is just one, and if you are feeling creative, you can do 6 different of them and use different gradient map. So yeah, this is just a quick starting point. Then next we will be creating this background. It has more technique to be involved. Let's get started. Let's grab our starters here, and we are looking at 1440 to 900. So essentially we could do it with the same size. Now we have the same drawing that we use in our previous vector pattern, so rotate it a bit and then scale it up, since it's basically using the same technique. You could try to redraw of those things together, but I am lazy, so I'm just gonna put it on the base so we can all see it. Let me multiply it. So this is the imagery that we are going to start it to blend. Alright, then let's Command Shift C and paste it here. And the same thing again, open up the Liquify plugin, and still we are going to use density only 100 but ray in 50, and I'm going to use the brush size around 500, 200 to 500 depends. It's just roughly the number, but the mostly important is that you have to keep your stroke a bit content, not long as the way we do it in this place. It will create very difficult pattern, and also in this way this is create difficult pattern, but we don't want that. So reset, and then let's get started. I think this imagery is quite big, so I'm gonna go with a little bit bigger brush. So the imagery is like a northern line that's going in this way, so I'm going to use a soft brush and then go with this way, just like using short stroke, not a big stroke. And go with a smaller one. I think the smallest should be not less than 200. And try to do it in the same direction, not too much of the crossing pattern. Some crossing pattern would be nice, but you have to soften it out with a big brush later. So this kind of smaller brush is starting to add texture to the overall background, but too much texture will make the text less readable. So, sometimes this does happen when the plugin think you are still dragging, but actually you are not. So just hit Command Z to revert it back. Now we are going to close up these gaps. So using very big brush, I started to nudge, and with short stroke. Okay, I think I've done with this one. Now I'm going to open up the Photopea plugin. So this one is basically Photoshop, and I'm going to use transform, and then using warp. So essentially I'm going to keep creating this pattern without this kind of line to make it a bit more continuous, because you can still see there are some sharpy lines here, and I want to remove that. So I really wanted to create this kind of latte art kind of tool. So let's see if I can do that. And then let's export this imagery and then put it back to the canvas. We're going to need more blur on this imagery because it's background, so we don't want the pattern to be this striking. So let's open up filters and effects. I covered this plugin in many videos, so I'll put that in the link below. Let's get rid of all this, and we're going to use blur. You can play with around this kind of blur, see which one you like it, but for the background, I would say Gaussian blur is pretty good for our use case. So you can start to see that I want these lines to be blurry. I think maybe this looks good. I'm gonna save this image, then it will be on top of that. So let's grab it out. To this stage, I think our image is wrapping well. Then it's the same process. We are going to add some noise. This one. Now that copy as the imagery, we do before. So essentially, as you can see, the difference between these two things is that when we liquify it, we started to use a short stroke to create a swirling pattern, and then we use another tool like whooping tool in the Photopea plugin to make it a little bit more smoother. On top of that, we also add a Gaussian blur. The Gaussian blur can help us to decrease the definition of these lines a little bit more. Let's make the imagery in the background less striking and make the text on the foreground to be visible, legible. So let's keep doing this, and we've already added noise and copy as a imagery. Let's open up Gradient Map plugin. Color is also very important in this scenario because we don't want the color to have this much of striking contrast. So I've already created a swap right here. It's a bit difficult to see. You can see this swap, so I'm going to use those. Let's see if I can put it here. This one is essentially the background color of the dark color, so let's do that. And as you can see, this looks nicer, and let's apply it to our gradient map. Yep, and that's what we want. Then we copy this image field and then go to the starter and paste it in this imagery. So here we are, we have our imagery liquid gradient background that is make the text very legible. And that's it, my friend. So I hope you learned something here in this tutorial, and if you like this video, please give it a like, and if you want me to see more of this, please consider subscribing to the channel. I will see you next time. Bye bye.